Okay, so last week I was facilitating a group of prevention champion healthcare staff, and we were talking about the latest and greatest resources for lowering blood pressure. And I asked the group as an icebreaker, what is one thing you do to self manage your health? And people responded things like, I make sure that I eat vegetables at all my meals. I walk. I spend time in nature. These are all great things, but they're not actually self management. They were naming self care. And it occurred to me that it may be important to define both because both are so important. It's important to understand both if we want to experience the best health possible. And if we are in the healthcare field and are wanting to provide an experience for patients where they experience their best health possible, it's important to know the difference between self-management and self-care. Both are important. And as leaders, it's important so that we can support our staff. So I thought I would define each of them, give examples, and then we would look at the whole life healing assessment wheel, because within that tool, you'll see both self-management and self-care. And I think it will tie it all together in a great way. Okay, self-management. Self-management is the system. This is the system that supports you actualizing your best health. So when I say system, I mean it's comprised of the skills, planning, everything you do to manage your health. So think system. With self-care is what you actually do to maintain your health and well-being. These are the actions you take to support your health. So they're both different, but both equally important. So a system, a self-management, since it's a system, it might include the way you assess your health. It would include how you plan for being healthy, how you prioritize, how your goal setting, the time management piece. All of that falls under self-management. Self-care would be anything that there are 8 areas of self-care in the whole life healing assessment wheel. And those 8 areas include finances, personal growth, movement, nutrition, relationships, managing your stress, spirituality, and rest and sleep. So those 8 areas, they comprise your self-care, and what you do in those 8 areas to support your health is all self-care. So for example, if I say that I have a sleep routine that I maintain so that I can sleep better, or that I make sure I don't eat after 7 p.m. so that I'm able to digest my food and then I sleep better, that's self-care. But how I even determined that I needed to work on my sleep, that's part of self-management. So if I assessed my health and found either from my labs or maybe I am assessing my sleep quality and I've determined my sleep's not so great, that's self-management. That assessment, the part of me that is determined I needed to do work in this area. All right, let me share my screen. So excited. I'm excited that I had this awareness, because sometimes I think we just all know and we don't. And I also realized that even though I'm familiar with this, is because I've lived in it and it took a long time to fully understand it all. So here's the whole life healing assessment wheel. This whole tool within itself, this is self-management. This is a tool that we are utilizing to manage our health so that we can actualize our best health possible. And by the way, if you don't have an assessment tool, go to karlacaldwell.com and you can access this. Now, when I'm looking and rating myself, that's all part of self-management. I'm managing. And as I rate each area and I analyze the data that I'm collecting from the most important place of all, me, that is all a part of the self-management. When I decide, what am I going to do with this information? And I decide to set a SMART goal, create a realistic action, that's all part of the self-management process. Now, when I start to look at, so I'm going to look at the outside, the mindset piece. Having the appropriate mindset and assessing whether I have it or not, self-management. The mindset that's most conducive to experiencing your best health is self-love, gratitude, and mindfulness. If I determine that I could benefit from increasing my mindfulness practice, and I decide that every day I'm going to spend 5 minutes in nature, I'm going to do my best to be in the moment so that I can build my mindfulness muscle, that's self-care. Okay? As I'm looking at these different areas and I'm determining what matters most to me. Okay, family and legacy. The act of determining and knowing what matters most to me is self-management. When I connect what matters most to me to every change I'm making, that's a part of self-management. That's a skill that is facilitating me to get to my best health possible. Again, as I look at, let's say I look at movement and I determine that I could move more, especially cardio. Let's say that I determine I'm stretching, I'm doing strength, but I'm not doing cardio. So that assessment is self-management. When I decide that I'm going to do more cardio, like I'm going to run, the running is the self-care. The movement is self-care. I hope that makes sense. So in the comments, let me know, what is one thing this is your quiz. What is one thing that you do to self-manage your care? And what is an example of self-care that you do for your health and well-being? So one example of self-managing and one example of self-care, and we'll see if I did a good job explaining it. I'm rooting for your success times 1,000. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me. Please share. If you find this helpful, please share with your colleagues. Understanding both self-management and having a self-management system and consistently taking care of your self-care, the mindset and the 8 areas of self-care, both together contribute to your best health possible. All right. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.